All right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Shabbat Shalom. It is Friday morning, September the 17th, and I'm hoping that you had a prayerful and restful Yom Kippur, and that as you broke your fast, if you were fasting last night, as you broke your fast, that you were able to reemerge into the eat. God said in Genesis chapter 2, eat. And that's what he wants for us to do is he's always wanted us to live, and he's the one who provided us, who put us in a garden of trees with food there for the picking, and that was all taken away. That was all gone. We cut that off when we disobeyed the Lord, but his desire in atoning for us is that we would be and enjoy all that he has for us to be and enjoy. And so, good morning to everyone. Good morning to my mom. I love you, Mama. Good morning. Good morning to the Eddies, to Lauren and Levi and Valor and Haven and Everett. Good morning to you guys. And buenos dias to Elva. Good morning, Boker Tov, to Richard and Ellen. And Ron and Amy, good morning to you guys as well. And good morning to Menyan and Rashad, and to Jerry and Janet. Good morning, you guys. And let's see here. And we've got good morning to Mary Valenzuela. It's good to have you with us this morning. And good morning to, let's see here. And to Pastor and Sister Martinez, and to Barbara, and good morning to Kelly Woods and Melody Woods. Hope you're doing well this morning. And let's see, anybody else? All right, well, we'll go ahead and get started. Oh, and good morning to Dee. It's good to have you with us as well. Oh, and Elizabeth and Jesse and Philip and Salome. All right. Well, we are. I was struggling to come up with not to come up with the title for this morning, not because it was hard for me to come up with a title, but really to choose one that would be condensed enough and would fit into the description. And so our focus this morning, as we're going to be looking at Psalms 77 and Psalm 17. Is this idea of being formed in the night, or emerging from the darkness, waking up from the long dark night, but not as though the night hasn't had its purpose, but to awaken in the likeness of the Lord, to awaken looking more and more like him, being shaped into his likeness. And in these Psalms, there's a picture of it's, again, struggling. It's a struggle for sure through the night, and a wrestling at times, but ultimately coming to a place of resting in him, of recognizing that in the midst of the dark night, that our call is, Lord, that you would fight for us. Lord, that you would be my champion. Lord, that you would fight. And as I'm dependent on you, so I'm going to watch you, and I'm going to follow you. And my goal, my desire is to be like you. And so I'm going to rest. I'm going to rest from the fight. My goal is not to fight that fight. You fight my enemies, and I will enter into your rest and emerge from that sleep in the likeness of you. And that's kind of an overarching picture of what we're looking at this morning. Let's open up with Psalm 77. And it is a prayer. It's a prayer to God. This is a psalm of Asaph, and it's a prayer to God really in the dark night. And the psalmist is crying out to the Lord. And so it opens up, my voice to God, and I cried out. My voice to God, and he heard me, or he turned his ear to me. He listened to me. In the day of my trouble, I seek my Lord. So again, this idea, my trouble, it's the word, the root word is tsar, is a squeezing, is a distress, is of my oppression when it was all coming in on me. And, that's why when we speak about the Hebrew word for Egypt is Mitzrayim, which is Mitzarim, right? So tsar in the middle is distress. The mem at the beginning means from distresses, from troubles. It's the land of distress, the land of my oppression, the land of my bondage. And so in the midst of that, in the day of my squeezing and my trouble, I seek my Lord. You're the one, my master is the one that I pursue. I look for you, Lord, in that day. At night, my hand stretches out. And the word for stretches out here is nagar, which is kind of this flowing movement. Like it's just this exhaustion. I need you. My hand stretches out untiringly. It doesn't stop. It doesn't numb. It doesn't end. My soul refuses to be consoled, to be comforted. I remember God, and I moan. I muse, and my spirit grows faint. Selah. Now, we've gone through this psalm before, but I'll mention. Of course, we have through almost all the psalms we've gone through before. But there's the tense here is it's more of a, rather than I remember my God, it's remember God me. It's a first person cohortative. It's a mood that expresses the speaker's desire, intention. Like we see this kind of verb all the way through this opening part of this psalm, where there's almost like a self conversation where I have to spur myself in the midst of this dark night. I'm reaching out to God, but saying, okay, remember God, I say to myself. That's really what rather than I remember God, it's remember God, I say to myself. Roar, he says, and then it says, and I moan, but it's like roar, run on, roar, like cry out to God. He says, I muse, which is, this idea of kind of flowing, but it's meditating, going between speaking and thinking and mumbling, kind of as I'm bringing these things before God, and my spirit grows faint. You hold my eyelids open. You hold open the guards of my eyes, is the literal. I am so troubled. I am so disturbed, I cannot speak. So you have this exhaustion. I have no words. I have no words. When I don't know about you, but when I read even that, what comes to my mind is what we have in the Lord, where in Romans chapter 8, where it says, when I can't even find the words to pray, right? That the Holy Spirit speaks on my behalf, that he intercedes for me with groans which cannot be uttered. When all I have are groans and musing and mumbling, and I can't find the words. I don't know about you, but I've been in that place where I'm like, Lord, I don't even know how to ask for, how to communicate what I'm trying to say here. And there's just, in the midst of my groaning, the Lord hears the cry of my heart. And so here he says, I'm so troubled I cannot speak. Verse 6, I ponder the days of old, the years long ago. He goes, I think about the old days, which feels like an eternity of years. Verse 7, again, this is the verbs here again are kind of self-talk, like reminding. In the night, remember my song, myself. Remember your song. At night, don't forget when it's dark. Remember my song. Meditate with my heart. It says, I meditate with my heart, but again, it says, meditate, muse with my heart to myself, I say, and my spirit is searching. My spirit is trying to track this down. Will the Lord reject forever and never again show favor? Has his mercy, has his chesed vanished forever? Has his promise come to an end forever? Right? Is this an end to the glory, to the of his promise to generations and generations? Is literally what it says. Has the word ended? Has the promise ended? L'dor v'dor, from generation to generation. And so you have this moment where in the darkness of the night, as he's finding the strength to call out to God, finding the strength where he can't even find the words in the very dark of night to say, is this going to last forever? Is this going to go on and on? Is his promise, because in the moment it feels like that the chesed of God, the love of God, the covenant loyalty of God, in this immediate moment isn't that it's failing. He says, is this going to go on and on? Verse 10, has God forgotten to be gracious? Has he forgotten kindness and favor, the Hanan? Has he forgotten his graciousness? Or has he in anger withdrawn his mercies? Has he closed off his mercies in anger? Verse 11, then I said, it wounds me. And the word there is, it pierces me. This kills me, Lord. This wounds me that the right hand of Elyon has changed. That the right hand of the Lord, the hand of the Lord doesn't seem to be working in the way that it did. I will remember, again now, he says, I will remember the deeds of Adonai. And then he says, I will remember the deeds of Adonai because, yes, I will muse about your wonders of old. I remember your wonders from old. I determined to remember, recall, bring to mind from the ancient times your wonders, your miracles, the things of old. I'm going to remember in the moment when I say, has God forgotten? Has he withdrawn his love? Have his compassions failed? Is he not acting like himself in this moment to me? Does it seem like he's not being who I know him to be? And I'm going to draw upon who I know he is. It says, I will muse about your wonders of old, from ancient times, your wonders, your miracles. Verse 13, I will meditate also on your work, on all your wonders, and consider your deeds. So again, that second part is like a determination. That's just what I'm going to do. I'm going to consider, I'm going to meditate, I'm going to muse upon the things you have done. I'm not going to forget. In the moment of despair, in the darkness of the night, there can be a despair that loses sight of God's faithfulness, that forgets what he is able to do, that forgets even the manner in which he has delivered in the past. You know, we talked about this a little bit on Wednesday when looking at how the Lord brings us through, looking back at the story of Joseph, right? And how the Lord brought Joseph through, like the dream that he gave him was accomplished, but it came through the pit, being thrown into the pit and through the prison. And I'm going to remember that you brought him through that. But he had to go through that. And you'll remember the language that was used in I believe Psalm 105 that we looked at the other day was remembering that when Joseph came through that he was proven, that God basically brought him through a fire that purified him in the midst of that. So I'm going to consider what you've done. I'm going to remember the way you've worked in the past. I'm going to keep that. I'm determined to fix my eyes on you. Oh God, your way is holy, or in holiness is your path, is your way. What God is great like God? You are the God who works wonders. You are the God who, he says, you, it's an emphatic you. Ata ha'el oseh pele. You are the God working miracles, working extraordinary deeds. You are the God who does that. Oseh pele. You have made your power known among the peoples. Right? You have revealed it. You have revealed it among the peoples, your power and your strength. With your arm, you redeemed your people, the children of Jacob and Joseph. Verse 17, the waters saw you. So now we come, right? Now we come to the picture of being before the Red Sea with those from your land of oppression in a pursuit behind you, gaining ground. The waters saw you, O God. The waters saw you and writhed, or they became like a wall, became a rampart. Even the depths shook. The clouds poured out water. The skies resounded, gave a great noise. Your arrows flashed back and forth. The sound of your thunder was in the whirlwind. Lightning lit up the world. The earth trembled and shook. I'm going to remember who you are. He says, your way was in the sea. Like, just your way was was in the sea. In the sea was your way, was your path. He goes, and your path in the mighty waters. But your footprints were not seen, were not known, were not realized. So you'll recall even the picture that we get when we look at the story of the Red Sea is that the Lord, when you read through that narrative, it tells us that the Lord basically there was another way to go. There was an easier way that didn't involve going through the Red Sea. The Lord intentionally led them to this dead end. The Lord intentionally led them to a cul-de-sac. There was no exit. It was a dead end. And that was his way because it wasn't a dead end. In the moment when it looked like there was nowhere to go, his way was in the place you never would have imagined. You know, you don't think, well, maybe God will part the sea. Not until he's already done it, right? We know the story of the Red Sea, but when you imagine, if you put yourself in the mind of those who stood before it, that was unimaginable. Oh, well, maybe God can part the ocean. No, you would have thought, well, God, take care of, turn them around or divert them. The Lord parted the sea. It says, but your footprints were not seen. You led your people like a flock by the hand of Moses and Aaron. And so in the dark, in the night, the psalmist here, when he begins to find himself forgetting about the faithfulness of God, when he's losing strength, when he's going back, he's going, have you forgotten? He remembers who God is. He remembers how God works. He calls upon the scriptures. He calls upon his awareness of God's faithfulness in days of old to know that God can and God will do it again. Come to Psalm 17 this morning, which is a prayer of David. And David prays this. He says, Shema Adonai. He's like, again, Shema means I need you to hear and I need you to act. Hear and then respond. Shema Adonai. A just plea, right? A plea. It said a plea of righteousness. This is a legitimate request, he says. I have really a righteous request, a legitimate request. Listen, be attentive to my cry, give ear to my prayer, from lips with no deceit. Right? I'm just bringing to you the genuineness of my words. I'm not trying to trick. Here, give me 2 new batteries. Okay. We've got a box of them up there. There's All right. Are we there? Okay. So I didn't know my batteries were dead. Where did it die at?
Just like a second before I said your battery's off.
Okay. All right.
You can go.
So verse 2. He says, "From your presence, or from before your face, comes my vindication, comes my mishpat, my justice, the judgments that are right, the evening out of things, the balancing of things." He says, "Your eyes perceive, they behold what is right, what is level, what is straight." You see whenever you're hanging something on a wall, right? When you're hanging on something on a wall and you're up close to it, you can't see if it's level. Now, if you have a level, you can do that. But if you need someone to eyeball it, if you're eyeballing it up close, there's a lot of times that it's going to be off. But one who steps back, who can see the big picture and how this stands in relation to everything else, is able to go, no, it's tilted to this way. And so the psalmist, who's up close in all of this, he says, "Your eyes perceive what is level, what is straight, what is right. I know that you see it." And so there's this opening confession of trust here in the psalm. He knows that he trusts the Lord. David trusts the Lord, that God has the wisdom and the discernment. He sees what is right. He's able to discern guilt and innocence. And then he has the power to do what is right, to set it straight. Verse 3, he says, "You have examined my heart. You searched me at night. Though you test me, you find nothing. I resolved that my mouth will not sin." So there's 3 different words here that are important. He says, "You've examined me." And this word bachan, it's like someone who is a tester of metals. You've looked up close. You've seen, okay, it looks good. The metal looks pure. You've examined my heart. And then it says, "You searched," which is the word pakad. Pakad often means to judge. Like it's often interpreted as God come and punish. But it simply means to visit, to attend, to have a meeting with. And so it's the same idea that depending on the place that you're in, having a visitation from God, having pakad, it can be judgment if you're not where you need to be. It says, "So you visited me at night. You attended to me. You visited me. You judged me at night. And though you test me," now the word here is tsaraf, which is to melt, to dissolve, to liquefy. This is the language that Psalm 105 used about what Joseph came through. That you proved, that the Lord proved his word, that his promises were tested through that, were melted, the dissolved, and you come out purified. It says, "Though you test me, you find nothing. I resolved, I purposed, I planned that my mouth will not sin, will not transgress." So David says, you've done all these things. You've tested me, right? You've looked closely. You've visited me, and you've brought me through the fire. And I resolved in the midst of that my mouth will not sin. But you've tested my heart. So the question is, if my mouth is going to not sin, it has to do with what's coming out of the overflow of my heart. Nothing's going to come out of my mouth that is going to cross the boundaries of you. I'm going to keep my heart and life undivided. That there's going to be a unity in that. So, but he's not just focused on his words. He goes on in verse 6. As for my deeds, the doings. Verse 4. What did I say? 6. My eyes. As for the deeds of mankind, by the word of your lips, I myself, I have kept out of the ways of the violent. Right? So for my part, As for the things that humanity does, for my part, I have kept away from the paths of the violent. And think about that. I mean, David has been on the run. David has twice had the opportunity to kill Saul. He hasn't spoken against Saul. He hasn't lifted up. He hasn't. When he was on the run from Saul, he had not spoken treachery against Saul. He had kept his mouth, his lips pure, and he was keeping his path pure. He was not going to engage in violence to take this into his own hands. Verse 5, he says, my steps have kept your paths. My feet have not slipped. He says, my feet have gripped your path, have laid hold, have taken your path. Right? I've not wandered into their ways, but I have like with almost like if you have cleats on where my feet are digging into your path. I'm gripping your path. I'm staying on this way. And then we go into verse 6, which has this another emphatic, for my part, here's what I did. I called out to you. He didn't call on an army. He called out to you. He says, verse 6, I called upon you, O God, for you will answer me. Incline your ear to me. Hear my speech. Shema, hear what I'm saying. I called to you because I know. He goes, I know you will answer me. Now, verse 7, I love verse 7. He says, be wonderful with your loving kindness. I just want to stop there for a minute. So he says, be wonderful with your chesed. Now, the word for wonderful, is pele, which is has to do with God's extraordinary works, miraculous. When there are nouns, miracles, pele is also a noun form, which is like and an adjective as well. But when it says, like in Isaiah 9, 5 and 6, when it says that he will be called Wonderful Counselor, and it says he is miraculous, extraordinary, right? And now when we use the word miracle or extraordinary, right? We have those words in noun form and adjective form, right? Miraculous, extraordinary, but we don't have it in verb form, right? We don't have a verb that says miracle as in a verb, like, will you miracleize? We don't have that language. So we have to add on the word to do a miracle, show us your miraculous. We have to add a verb there. But here, it's simply a verb that says, would you miracle? Would you miracleize? Would you extraordinaryize? Or however we would say it if we had a word for it. There are other times in the last psalm, it said, Ose pele. It said, you do wonders. You do miracles, right? It had that word ose means to make or to do. But that word isn't actually here. It says hafle, which is miracle. Will you miracle? Because that's who you are. Will you miracle with your love, with your, like, the miracles of your chesed, the extraordinary works of your covenant love and loyalty? Will you do that? Will you be who you are? Be wonderful in your chesed. Miracleize by your chesed. O Savior, Moshiach, O Savior, O Rescuer, O Deliverer. Right? From your Moshiach is from your salvation, from your rescuing. Be wonderful with your chesed, O Savior, of those who those taking refuge at your right hand, from those rising up against them. Right? So Lord, show the miracles of your love. That's why I'm here. Be who you are. Do what you do. In Hebrew, there's a word a verbal form for miracle because that's who God is. Because God is the very foundation of who we are as a people. And so we have as starting points a recognition of how God acts and how God works and how he is and who he is. And we depend on him to intervene in extraordinary and miraculous ways. Would you do that in your chesed? O rescuer, for those who are hiding in you, for those who are taking refuge in you, when there are others that are rising up against, and I'm tucking away in you, hiding away in you, being shielded in you. Would you go forth in your chesed and do what you do? I need one of those miracles from the days of old, when the sea parted. Verse 8, protect me like the pupil of the eye. Hide me in the shadow of your wings. Right? So there's that picture of, I'm hiding in you. I'm not fighting the fight. I'm resting in you. Hide me in the shadow of your wings from the wicked who attack me, from my enemies who surround me. Their callous heart they shut tight. With their mouth they speak proudly. Our steps are now surrounded, and they set their eyes to throw us down to the ground, like a lion eager to tear to pieces, like a young lion crouching in cover. And so there's this poetic symmetry that says, okay, here we are, and we're surrounded, and it's like being surrounded by lions. They're like lions, just looking, snarling, crouching, ready to pounce, ready to devour us. And the imagery here is we're in the middle saying, would you guard us like you would guard someone coming at your eyes? Would you guard us under the shelter of your wings? And then you have this symmetry where it's like, Lord, I'm coming to you not with deceitful lips, but these guys speak arrogantly. My heart is open. It's submitted to your searching gaze. I've said, you've searched my heart. You've tested it. You see my heart, right? There's an intentionality about guarding what comes out of my lips. I'm going to close the gates to what comes out of my lips, that nothing evil will cross that boundary. Whereas they speak arrogantly. Their hearts are not submitted. Their hearts are closed, he says. And then he says, I've set my feet, gripping my feet to your paths, and they walk the path of violence. They're surrounding me, eager to tear me to pieces. Verse 13, arise, Adonai, confront him. He says, meet his face. Stand up to him. Make him bow down. Deliver my soul from the wicked with your sword, from men with your hand, Adonai, from men of the world whose portion is in this life. Or it could be who destroy the living is what it could also mean. The word for portion is from the word chelek, which can be to destroy. It can also be, in some cases, that which comes from destruction, which would be like a share of property or loot. But it doesn't. They who destroy the living or whose portion is in this life. Now, mid-verse, this verse can be confusing because if you look at it where it says from men, from men with your hand, like that with your hand, Adonai, from men of the world whose portion is in this life. The next part of the verse is, you fill their belly with your treasure, with plenty of children, and leave their surplus to their babies, to their babes. So this is a little confusing. So he's saying it's basically painting a picture of God blessing these wicked ones. But when you look at the Hebrew, here's what it says. So I don't want to bog down here, but it says utzfinecha temale bitnam, which says, but your treasured ones fill their bellies. So there's actually in the middle of verse 14, because you'll remember in Hebrew poetry or in the Psalms, they don't actually have the original didn't have the verse numbers. So in the middle of this thought, it says, he says, arise, Adonai, confront him, make him bow down, shelter my soul from the wicked with your sword, from men with your hand, Adonai, from the men of the world whose portion is in this life. But your treasured ones fill their bellies, satisfying their children, and give them relief, or set aside their surplus for their infants. So it's saying, Lord, stand up to them, but your treasured ones, give us rest. The relief, the word for rest, or is menachem, which is there. It has to do with that when it says leaving or setting aside. It has to do with that which is rest or relief. Give your treasured ones relief, and the surplus to their babies. Verse 15, one of my favorite verses. Ani, I, as for me, in righteousness, I will behold your face. When I awake, I will be satisfied with your likeness. My goal in all of this is to wake up made like you, to come through the darkness, to come through the night, to come through the fire, formed in your likeness. That even in resting in you, in trusting in you, in calling on you, in remembering who you are, that I'm committed, Lord, to walking in your ways. That I want in the night for you to meet with me. When I'm calling on my hands, I want you to meet with me, Lord. I ask you to search me and to know me. I ask you to look closely at me and to recognize that in the midst of this, you're bringing me through this trial, and that your way leads me at times to the point of the Red Sea. But you're teaching me to trust you, to fix my eyes on you, to trust what you've said. And in the midst of all of this, I'm asking you to fight my battles. I'm asking you, Lord, to fight my battles. My goal, my focus is that through all of this, that I would awaken, not having been changed to be like them. They're like lions. I want to be like you. Like they're like devouring violent lions. I don't want to fight the way they fight. When the enemies come against me, I don't want to fight with their weapons. I don't want to be like them. I'm giving it to you. Would you fight for me, Lord? And my goal is to watch you. And as you fight for me, that I would be formed into your likeness. So our natural temptation is to think, well, this is how the people of this world battle. This is the way they fight. And if I don't fight the way they fight, I'm going to lose. So rather than walking the way of the kingdom of God, we end up giving in to walking the way of the kingdoms of this world. And in that process, we're formed into the likeness of this world. But that's not our desire. Our desire is in the midst of that trial, in the midst of that difficulty, in the midst of that we would be formed into his likeness. So that in Luke chapter 6, Yeshua says, I say to you, love your enemies. Bless those who curse you. Do good to those who hurt you. I'm paraphrasing. He says, and then if you do that, you'll be like your Father in heaven. You'll be like him in his likeness. Because he is kind and gracious, even to the evil and to the wicked. He is patient with them. You want to be like your Father in heaven? Then don't retaliate. Don't fight with the weapons of this world. When you come through the darkness of the night, eyes fixed on the Lord, determined, I'm going to look to you. I'm going to remember that you were the one who fought the Egyptians. You were the one who made a way through the sea. I'm going to look to you. I'm going to recall what you've done and to know that you'll bring me through the darkness of the night in the likeness of you. Amen? All right. Well, just want to remind everyone that we do have Overflow today. So if you want to stick around and on Zoom for about a half an hour, would love to just talk, connect. If you have any questions or thoughts, we encourage you to join us there. Let me say hello to anybody I missed. Hey, hello to Kelly Kenfield, and good morning to John and Jan. Love you guys. Good morning to Joshua. Good morning to Rachel and Sonia and Margarita. And let's see. And good morning to Sarah. And good morning to Sharon. And I think that's everyone there. All right. And good morning to Nick. Hey, my friend. How you doing, Nick? I love you, buddy. And good morning to Misty and Nick. We're continuing to pray for you, my friend. I know that this season's not easy, but I know that you're strong, in that you're a rock in the Lord, and that the Lord is bringing us all through dark seasons. And so Nick is my friend who just over a week ago lost both of his parents to COVID on back-to-back days. And so we know that the Lord in the midst of this is going to form and shape and bring us through it. All right. Well, we encourage everyone to join us on Zoom. The information is in the Zoom info is in the description. And Antonio, did you put it in the chat box as well? Okay, go ahead and put it in the chat box, and it'll be there as well in a moment. And we'll see you then. And then tomorrow, of course, is our Shabbat service at 10:30 a.m. Well, may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shalom, shalom. Have a beautiful day.